Hey guys, it's Mikexingchen. I love discussing the topic of reincarnation and past lives, and of course that's something I believe in. And regardless if you believe in reincarnation or not, you've got to admit that there are some really interesting stories out there about past lives that are pretty hard to explain. I did a video on this topic before where I talked about kids remembering past lives and knowing facts and information they would never have known unless they were actually there. And in this video, I'm going to share with you more stories of kids who seem to remember who they were before they were born. Number 1, 3-year-old find his own missing body. According to the book Children Who Have Lived Before Reincarnation Today, a 3-year-old boy who lived near the border of Syria and Israel was born with a red birthmark on his head. He was born into the Druze ethnic group who believed that birthmarks are related to past lives. When the boy was old enough to talk, he told his parents that he got the birthmark because in a previous life he was killed by an axe which struck him on the head. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. In this particular culture, which regards reincarnation as fact, elders would take a child to the home of his or her previous life if he or she remembers it. In this case, the 3-year-old boy remembered and was able to identify the village where he lived before. And when they arrived at the village, the boy was able to remember his previous name and claimed to be the reincarnation of a man who went missing 4 years ago. Not only that, the boy even remembered the name of his murderer and even confronted him. Then the boy told everyone he could take them to where the body was buried. In the spot where the boy led everyone to, a man's skeleton was found with a wound to the head that corresponded to the boy's own birthmark. They also found buried with the body the axe used to commit the murder. Number 2, a boy remembers his killer and his wife. According to Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia School of Medicine, a boy was born in Turkey whose name was Sami Tusmaz, but as soon as he could talk, he wanted to be called by another name, Salim Fesli. The boy said that he was the reincarnation of Fesli and remembers intimate details of his previous life. The boy's parents investigated and found that a man by the name of Salim Fesli from a neighboring village was killed in a field due to a supposedly accidental gunshot wound. He was shot in the face and his right ear, the same place where the boy had a birthmark. As I mentioned, the boy had a clear memory of his past life, which of course included his family. So when he was 4 years old, he actually walked to the neighboring village and into the house of Fesli's widow and said to her, "I am Salim, you are my wife Khatib," and continued to recount details of their life and names of their children, which the widow verified as true. The boy also said that his death was not an accident and his killer shot him intentionally over a dispute. Number 3, the World War I soldier. Since he was little, Edward Austrian had a phobia of damp, rainy weather and would often feel pain in his throat. But what was strange was that Edward would call his throat pain his shot. When he was 4, Edward developed a cyst in his throat which the doctors could not explain. As a precautionary measure, the doctors removed his tonsils. After the surgery, Edward started to tell his mother about his past life as an 18-year-old soldier named James who fought in the trenches during a war. He also told his mother that he was killed when a bullet struck him in the throat. What's interesting is that after he told his mother about the possible memories, Edward's cyst disappeared, and the doctors never were able to explain why. Number 4, Gone with the Wind. At 2.5 years old, Lee was already scaring the crap out of his parents by talking about his other mommy. A year later, he would get upset because he wanted to go to his other house and get back to work. Lee would also argue that his middle name was actually Cole and that his birthday was June 26th, even though his middle name is not Cole and he was born on June 21st. In addition, Lee started to talk about his daughter Jennifer and told his parents he lived in Hollywood and that he died at the age of 48. When his parents asked what he did in Hollywood, Lee told them he wrote movies. At this point, Lee's parents started to think that Lee was talking about a past life. Well, either that or the kids gone evil and will eventually go all Pet Cemetery on them in the middle of the night. So yeah, let's go with the past life theory. When the parents started to name off movie classics when they came across Gone with the Wind, Lee replied, "Yes, that was my movie. I wrote that movie." Lee's parents looked into the screenwriter for Gone with the Wind and found that his name was Sidney Cole Howard, who died at the age of 48. Howard had a daughter named Jennifer, and Howard's birthday was June 26th. Number 5, the Island of Barra. Since he was 2, Cameron Macaulay, who was born in Glasgow, Scotland, told his mother that he wasn't from Glasgow, but was from an island off the coast of Scotland called Barra, 160 miles away. He would also tell his mother about a beach where from his bedroom window he could see planes land, a white house, and his pet, a black and white dog. Cameron spoke about his former family and about how his dad, Shane Robertson, died because he did not look both ways when he was crossing the street, and about his brothers and sisters. When his mother Norma asked Cameron how he came to be with her, Cameron said that he fell down and ended up inside Norma's stomach, and that his name was Cameron in his previous life as well. Initially, Norma just thought this was all part of Cameron's imagination because they have never been to the Island of Barra before. But as Cameron complained more and more about missing the island, Norma, with Dr. Jem Tucker from Virginia University, who specializes in reincarnation, made the trip to Barra in February of 2005. When they arrived on the island and the plane landed on the beach, everything was just as Cameron had described. They searched for and found records of a Robertson family who owned a white house on the bay where planes taking off and landing were visible. When they drove to the White House with Cameron, he recognized it immediately and became very happy. But as it turns out, the previous owners had already died. They were let in the house by the person who kept the keys, and once inside, Cameron knew every single bit of the house, and it was exactly how he described it before. Cameron's story was actually even featured in a UK documentary called The Boy Who Lived Before. Now, one thing you're probably thinking is, why are all the people who remember their past lives kids? Well, if you think about it, for them, it sort of just happened, right? I mean, kind of fresh memories. Also, I talked about it in my last reincarnation video. If you want to watch it, it's right here. In some Eastern belief systems, it says that we all have a third eye or a vestigial eye, and through that eye we can see into other dimensions. This is actually a very common belief in many cultures around the world, and according to those cultures, because kids are more pure, they're able to see through this eye much more clearly and actually see into their previous lives. This is all really interesting and one of my favorite topics to explore, but let me know what you guys think of reincarnation. Do you believe it? And if you do you remember anything about your past life? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. See you later.